So I guess I'll start off.
How?
They're Democratic, bro. They're
All right. Question for you is, how could you improve the healthcare system?
I'm supposed to have opening statements,
First off, have an open statement.
so I'm gonna go first.
You first.
Okay. Hello, everyone. As you know, I'm Newman. Today, we will be discussing and deciding who between us, two Democrats, will make it to the final. Now, I must say first, it's a pleasure meeting with you. I think it's gonna be a great debate.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure. We need to make sure, though, that we need to elect the correct person. We need to talk about important issues like abortion and restriction of gun control. This will be a hard-fought battle, but I feel like we, the people, can do it. Thank you.
And good morning, America. As you may tell, Kalani Henderson could not make it this morning, and as her campaign manager, I'll step in to fill her role in her absence. For this debate, think of me as the vocals of Henderson. Ask me any questions. If you have any topics you want to discuss, ask them to me, and I'll be able to speak for the Henderson campaign. First, as a part of my opening statement, I'd like to address the NRA scandal. This scandal does not represent the campaign at all. The NRA came to us with money, and then we promptly refused to accept it. When they first came to us, we were hoping they were coming to us in the light that of bipartisanship. But ultimately, we discussed, Henderson, the campaign manager, discussed that it wouldn't be in the best interest of the campaign and also wouldn't represent our voters. The Henderson campaign is not running just for the improvement of America and its democracy, but to improve the lives of all Americans, no matter their ethnicity, age, or income level. Kalani Henderson will accomplish this through changes in the economy, criminal justice system, public health and healthcare, societal inequalities, criminal justice policies, public education, and immigration policies. Feel free to ask any questions regarding these topics, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess we can start with Mr. Newman. You can answer this too. We'll start with Mr. Newman. How can you improve the healthcare system?
Well, I feel like the healthcare system at its current moment is very money grabbing. There's a lot of medications out there, and most of the time people spend big heaps of money and they don't have that money, right? And then they use the medication and they normally don't get that better, and they usually kind of stay in the same situation. I feel like we need to get free healthcare. We need to make sure that people are able to provide and get the help they need as well. And they need to make sure that everyone has access to it. Because if no one has access, no one will get better.
All right. As the Henderson campaign recognizes that healthcare has become something that people are struggling to afford. Medication is expensive. Bottles, pills, insulin can become too expensive for people of the average American income level to afford. So, and we believe the government has the responsibility to help Americans afford their health care. The Henderson campaign, therefore, supports the aim of the Affordable Health Care Act. It attempts to make healthcare insurance affordable to everyone via premium tax credits, expand the Medicaid program, and fund the creation of other methods to reduce healthcare costs.
Do we go one by one?
You have Democrats, you have Democratic interest groups, ask your questions.
Okay. What strategies would you implement to help America's foster care system be better?
To me or him?
You first.
as you know, the foster care system is sometimes faces difficulties. It can be a very difficult challenge for especially the child to grow up without parents and without a motherly figure or a fatherly figure. We'd improve the foster care system by getting leaders into that field and maybe promoting more funding. And we want to make sure that these foster children, when they're wards of the state, have all the access to the same resources, both emotional, educational, financial, that children with parents have.
I believe that the foster care system is not great. I feel that there is a lot of children who get thrown out, especially if they are like doing bad behavior, and the care system just kick them out, and I don't feel like that's great. I feel like there should be more funding towards it, because when you look at some of the foster cares, they're not in fantastic shape. They don't really have the tools necessary to take care of these children. Sometimes the children themselves, it's sad, right? Parents can just delete kids, especially now that Roe v. Wade, right? There's going to be a lot of kids that just get dropped off at foster care. Thank you. Foster care. There's going to be an abundance of children there, and they're going to need a lot more money.
All right, this is for both of y'all. So, especially in today's society, it's showing that cost of living and homes is rising. So how could we come up with some solutions, or how could you come up with solutions to cut the cost of living? You can start.
Okay. Well, the cost of living is always going to rise, right? Especially in our financial situation and economics. I guess a way for us to cut costs for homes is make cheaper homes. There needs to be, people aren't going to spend thousands of dollars like they do in New York for rent, right? It's just not realistic for some people. I feel we need to make houses that are cheaper. They might be a little bit farther away from the city because the closer you are to the city, the more expensive the land is, but there needs to be a way for people to understand that not everyone has the access to money, right? Money is something that's very strong, but also something that is used every day. So, cheaper homes.
And as the Henderson campaign, if you all were to take one thing away from this debate, it's that the Henderson campaign is the people running for the people. We believe that the government should help provide to its citizens. And as a part of that, we support social welfare programs. These programs can help benefit people by providing them housing, by providing them food, providing them, health care, anything that reduces the cost for the citizen of their living expenses.
Okay, you can go for it first, Tracy. How should it be decided whether a woman has access to abortion?
Abortion. As you all may know, I'm sure all of you know, abortion is a hot topic, a controversial topic. However, the Henderson campaign is fully behind the woman's right to choose. It's her body, it's her decision. As a part of that, we pose a question. If you make abortion illegal, then there will be more children in foster care systems put up for adoption. Are Republicans who are pushing to make abortion illegal, are they adopting these kids? Who is adopting these children? if they grow up in a society that doesn't treat them well, where they don't have access to resources that they need, education, loving parents, or like financial resources, they are more likely to become attached to welfare programs when they won't necessarily, at least there would have been a better option. We want to try to make sure that people who are on welfare are the people who need it. And if there's a way to make sure, we want to put the American people in the best position possible. And if we have these people who, or these babies who would have been aborted, then grow up in a society that doesn't give them the same resources, then they're more likely to become or commit criminal activities, which then could in turn harm society. We believe that this protection of women's abortion rights should be either federally mandated or protected by state laws, but we want to make sure it happens.
Can you read the question?
How should it be decided whether a woman has access to abortion?
It should be simple. A woman has power, and they should be able to do it. I see no reason why the government should decide that a woman can't have an abortion. This shouldn't be a political topic. It should be straight and simple, okay? Women have the power and the responsibility for themselves to do what they want with their body. My body, my choice, right? It's just like, it's a simple thing like moving your arm, right? It's the same thing. I see no reason why. And abortions, they're good for you, right? They provide stem cell research, which helps other people, because the undefined cells can be given to another person, and the other person can use those undefined cells for their own person. The cells could become like cells, so they can become arm cells. It really depends. And I do not feel that the government should take this right away from women. I feel like it's stupid.
May I respond to that? All right. So you mentioned in your response that you don't think it should be a government topic, a government issue.
I just don't see why it needs to be this politicized. I feel like for women, they have the power to do so, and so they can.
And I 100% agree, but I think that it needs to be politicized in order to protect women's rights. If we politicize it, we can make a policy about it and make sure that this right can never be taken away from women again.
Right, and there was, and then Roe v. Wade, and then they got rid of it, which was just absolutely, I don't understand what's going on in people's minds. I feel like they really should think about it and realize, what are we doing? We're stripping a right away from a human being. It makes no sense at all, and it's just downright dumb that these people would even do such a thing.
All right. So, Mr. Newman, you can start with this. So in today's workforce, a lot of minority groups face discrimination, and sometimes this impacts whether or not somebody is hired, so, or how they're treated, in that workplace. What potential policies could we possibly come up with to implement workforce equality?
So, in the workforce, I know they have this policy where they have to have a specific group, and so just random people will get hired and they'll do meaningless tasks just because they're a minority, and I don't feel like that's right. I feel like you should be hired based on who you are, based on your skills. It also goes to the same thing with beauty. People get hired because they're usually more beautiful. You'll get a guy, right, and he'll come in and he'll be a little bit overweight, and he'll be kind of slow, and they'll be like, well, I don't think you really meet the qualifications, when they probably overexceed the qualifications. Then you'll have another dude come in, right? He's lean, he's fit, he's ready, but he doesn't know anything. I shouldn't say anything. He probably knows something, but the other guy has more qualifications, right? I feel like to me that's, again, it's just dumb. People should be, if you qualify for the job, if you overqualify, if you're ready for the job, you should be able to go get it done.
The Henderson campaign fully supports diversity in the workplace. Studies have shown that when a workplace has diverse people from all backgrounds, that it actually increases productivity and the business's innovation. In this regards, we want to make policies that support diversity in the workplace. This can be like affirmative action that already exists, which we support. And we can maybe create policies where affirmative action has more of a pull on corporations and businesses. But the thing that we can most control is who is employed by the government, by the federal government. And I can assure you that the Henderson campaign will represent the American population in the federal government's workforce.
Okay, so do you agree that sexual health should be taught in high schools? Why or why not? You can go first. Or
Sure. I do believe sexual health should be taught in high schools. I feel like this is a no-brainer. If there's this scheme where people believe like, oh, if you teach kids, then they're gonna do it. Do you want them to do it? Not safe. And I also believe that they won't necessarily do it. Kids, if they are deprived of something, they will go out and do it. If your parents say no to something, right? Usually you will go do it later, right? I see no reason why you would deprive like sexual health. It's something very easy to do. It's very easy to talk about. I feel like there's a lot of people who just find it weird to talk about because they didn't, get to talk to them about it with their parents. They didn't have that one-on-one with their parents. I do believe schools should be able to do it, but I also think parents need to take the initiative and also step out and do it. I feel like it's a no-brainer. It's important for us. It's important for your kids. If your kids don't know anything, how are they going to grow up in this world?
And as part, the Henderson campaign strongly believes that sex education is an important subject to teach in high schools. When you teach students about sex, that helps them, it promotes safe sex, it promotes positive sexual health, and that's a great thing for budding teenagers to have. And it ultimately improves public health with less sexually transmitted diseases, and which would then put a strain on the healthcare system. So ultimately, yes, we strongly support sex education in high school, but we want to do it by making policies that mandates this course in either by district by district, or state by state, or federal level. We can offer more funding to districts or states' education agencies that provide this service to high school students.
So today, in order to qualify for certain benefits like EBT, food stamps, and other financial benefits, people usually have to meet certain income requirements, right? And the income requirements typically aren't very high, but in some people's cases, they're not really working a job at all. And they might be in situations where they're trying to take care of a family that they didn't really plan on having. And so what could be some possible solutions we come up with to help, these people of very low income, borderline poverty? What could we do to help them obtain these benefits without really having any source of income?
I think food stamps are great, right? My nanny, when I was younger, she had food stamps. She would use them all the time. I mean, she really needed them. With people who are not planning on having a family, don't have a job, and are relying on food stamps, I do feel like there needs to be another form of income. To discuss the income, I feel they should be given maybe a weekly check to implement. Like, you know, if they don't have a job, don't have access, and they're relying on food stamps, they need something to help them out. A little push forward. Right? It doesn't always need.
As the Henderson campaign, we want to reiterate that we fully support the people. We will fund these welfare programs that provide food stamps, that provide health services, that help families that are struggling to meet the demands of regular life. And the government has a responsibility to do that. In addition, you can't just put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You can't just give these people something and that solves a problem just for that day, just for that week, just for that month. You need to help them get out of their current situation. In that regards, we want to make sure to also provide these people with ways to access better education, maybe get degrees, get better, higher paying jobs, and overall improve the quality of life of the American people.
What would you implement to ensure a woman's rights on her body would not be different from a man's rights on his body?
The Henderson campaign, as you may know, Roe v. Wade got overturned, and therefore states have the right to decide. So it's a decision made on the state-by-state basis. The Henderson campaign wants to fully protect a woman's right by implementing a protection on the federal level. This will ensure that no matter where you are, whether you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, the North, the South, you have the right to choose.
Can you repeat the question?
What would you implement to ensure a woman's rights on her body would not be different from a man's rights on his body?
Again, Roe v. Wade happened, right? It's horrible. It shouldn't happen. And like my candidate said, state by state, it's different, right? So in Texas, as we know, we have Abbott, and he is horrible. Horrible, 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 right? No one can have an abortion. Technically, if you find out you have a baby in, 6 weeks, then you can get an abortion. But when that happens, you don't even know. There just needs to be a more defined line.
This kind of goes along with the question we asked you before, but how can you ensure basic rights in the workplace are being met and that, labor work isn't being enforced on people not able to perform it? If that makes sense.
So pretty much you're asking, is it okay for, or it's not okay that people are getting hired because of work rights?
No, I'm just asking, you know what basic work rights are, right?
Yeah.
Workplace rights are. how can we ensure that it's being met?
Oh, like on a regular basis? Okay, yeah. I mean, people should be met with the same rights everywhere. If you go into a job, you should be met with the same behavior as anyone else. I don't feel like anyone should be treated differently. I feel in this world, though, it happens every day. You walk into a store and there's always someone who's looking down, or they're just not in a mood, or they're in a mood, sorry. I feel like that usually has to do with workplace environment. Something can happen, and it's just not right. And, they need to talk to HR about it. And I feel once they do that, they can probably resolve their problem.
And in addition to, we want to make, the Henderson campaign wants to have these workforce benefits that improve either the person's chances of getting hired, maybe because the business doesn't have to provide health care or other services that would normally fit under their workforce benefit umbrella, but the government can provide that. This can increase the chances of an applicant, getting hired for a job. But also, something that my opponent's campaign didn't mention is my opponent's response didn't mention is that the Henderson campaign wants to provide workforce benefits for minority groups. As we've previously discussed today, studies have shown that diversity in workplaces increases productivity, increases the innovation that a business can have. And so if we provide these workforce benefits, not only to, just the people who are applying or all the American people, we also want to make sure that these workforce benefits specifically help minority groups who are applying for a job in a field that maybe they wouldn't normally apply into because there wouldn't be workforce benefits, or maybe there wouldn't be it would be a field that historically didn't have their people from their ethnicity or skin color wouldn't be in that field. They can go in there and make breakthroughs, not only in science or engineering, whatever field they're in, but for their background, their ethnicity and race.
Okay, so last question. This kind of relates to the question I asked before, but should women have the same sexual health care rights as men, and if so, why?
Of course, as the Henderson campaign, and since this is one of the final questions of the debate, I just want to reiterate, it's we the people for the people. That our Henderson campaign wants to have the government benefit all American citizens. And to answer your question specifically, yes, of course, women should have the same healthcare benefits as men. This includes abortion or access to medical resources that are that are either free, provided by welfare programs, or that are easily purchasable within their family income.
I agree. Yes, of course. Women and men should have equal rights and equal health care. I feel like it's stupid to even think, sorry. I think it's stupid that women would have different health care than men. They should have right to abortion, they have right to Plan B. All this stuff should also be cheaper. I feel like a Plan B, one pill costs around $50. That's a bit high for one pill. I feel like there needs to be reduced cost in that sort of area, but also it needs to have just a better overall healthcare for everyone.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Newman, you can start with your closing statement.
Firstly, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to all the interest group. Thank you to Planned Parenthood. Thank you for the Workers Union. I really appreciate you guys for doing this. I think we had a good debate here. I think that all the points were said that we need to get across, and I feel that because of you guys and because of the audience, we can do this. We can be together as a united nation, and we can come through and save people.
I feel like this was a great debate. Like Mr. Newman, I want to make sure to thank the listeners, the interest groups, the media groups, all for coming out here today and listening to both of us debate. If you have any more questions or want further clarification, don't hesitate to get in touch with myself or Ms. Henderson, and we can organize an interview, or you guys can ask any more questions that you want. With that being said, thank you to my opponents. Great debate. And we the people for the people.